Welcome to Radical Conversations, where an adoptive mom and her son talk about all things reactive attachment disorder. I'm Mary Kalbach, and
I'm JT.
and today's topic is the holidays. JT has always had a really hard time with holidays, and I'm sure that this is a problem for you as well if you are an adoptive family who's trying to work your way through reactive attachment disorder. So let's just start right off the bat. What happens in your head during holidays?
So I think, well, looking back at it now, not a whole lot was going on in my head, but sort of now I'm a little older, I can reflect on it. I think what really goes on in my head is it's just overwhelming. There's just this overly sense of just being involved with the family and having to connect to people, and just everything is just like so much. Like, it's a flood.
So much relationship much?
Yeah, and connecting.
So you have to relate and connect to every person. How is that different any other day, though? Like a lot of holidays, we didn't have a lot of family around. It was still just the same people. So what made it different at the holiday?
Well, I think there's like this extra sense of pressure to get along with everyone and fit in, and everyone's supposed to be happy.
Everyone's supposed to be happy. You were never happy.
No.
So I guess you felt like you were expected to be happy. Or appreciative? What about appreciative?
Yeah, that too.
You were supposed to appreciate.
I was supposed to react certain ways to stuff that I really did not care much for.
Like what? Can you give an example?
Like presents, or sitting down at the dinner table with everyone. That was supposed to be really exciting, but I was never too excited about that.
So you don't like getting presents?
I hate getting presents.
What is it about getting presents that bothers you?
I don't like the fact of like letting other people do stuff for me or get stuff for me, because then it's almost like I'm expected to, I don't know, return the favor in some kind of way. I just like to be more independent on my own and get things for myself.
So for you, it has to be an equal transaction.
Yeah.
Somebody does something for you, now you're obligated to return.
Yeah, and I'll feel bad if I can't, or if I don't match their level of giving.
Okay. And this isn't important to you. You don't really care about presents. So why would you want to get other people presents?
Yeah, I do enjoy giving presents though, but I don't like getting them. I hate getting them.
Okay, so when you give presents, do you expect to get something back?
No.
So it's not a two-way street.
No, it's not. Like I would prefer to give people stuff and not get anything back.
Can you hear yourself talk?
Yeah.
So it's okay for you to give and not get anything back. But if somebody wants to give something to you, then that's not okay.
Yeah.
Because there's an expectation in your mind that you have to reciprocate.
Yeah, exactly.
So is it about like, if I reciprocate, what if I get it wrong? Is that part of the problem?
Well, that too, but like, also I just don't like people getting so close to me. I feel like they can give me a present, so I don't really like that either.
Okay, so when somebody gives you a present, then you feel like they're trying to attach. So that's directly a relationship attachment issue.
Mm-hmm.
So if you give somebody else a present, are you offering them attachment?
No, it's just a present. It's just like an object. It's just like a tangible thing that I'm giving it to them. Not because it will make me feel any way, because I know how it will make them feel.
So you do care about how other people feel?
Yeah. Of course.
No, because a lot of what you do, it looks like you don't care about how we feel, right? So I give you a gift, you reject the gift. What did you do? What have you always done with gifts when I give them to you?
I don't open them, or I just leave them there, or I pretend not to see it, and just like ignore it. So I don't want to say no, but at the same time, I don't want to open myself to open it or receive it. So it's just kind of easier just to
Okay, so how does that have you? How long before you stopped to think about how that would make us feel when you I gave you a gift and you don't look at it, don't open it, you just set it aside and walk away and leave it.
Like how long it took me to realize that?
Yeah.
19, 20 years.
Okay, so when you came to this realization about how that's hurtful to other people, what happened? What like how did that thought process go?
I just realized it was like a pattern. Every time I do this, and this happens, and the holiday turns out bad. So I'll suck it up and pretend to enjoy receiving gifts to make other people happy, even if I don't personally enjoy it that much.
Okay, do you like getting stuff?
Yeah, I do like getting stuff. It's just the entire thought process behind it. Because if I get a gift, I have to connect to that person and like be mushy and say thank you and all that stuff.
Okay, so here's the funny thing to me is like you're still even last Christmas. We can get into last Christmas in a minute, right? You're still rejecting those gifts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But last Christmas we had the relationship we have now. Like we still had this good relationship. We're pretty well attached and connected to each other. So why are you still rejecting the gifts?
That is still too much.
It's still too much.
Yeah,
It's a process.
Yeah.
You think you'll ever get to where I could give you a gift and you'd just be like, cool, thanks, Mom?
Maybe.
I mean, the other thing is, you're the oldest. Like, you have gotten so spoiled. You've pretty much gotten whatever you wanted.
You think so?
Yes.
I don't know about that.
So I know I know you don't not like what's being given to you. I mean, how many like pairs of track shoes did I buy you, or soccer cleats, or the nice, jersey, or the nice sweatshirt, or the Under Armour clothes? And that's kind of your love language growing up, was you would let me give you clothes.
You think so?
I had to leave it on your bed.
I never even thought of it like that. But yeah, I guess.
How'd you think about it?
I just was like, oh, cool. Another pair of pants, a pair of shoes. Yeah.
Okay, but if you had like walked in the door from school and I'd been like, JT, I got these for you today.
No. I would not have liked that. Because it's like having to connect on a whole other level.
Yeah.
It's just like acknowledging all that extra.
Loving.
Yeah.
You still have trouble with it, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about last Christmas, last year. Okay. We're going to do a whole video on relationships, right? On dating relationships. But what happened last year when you rejected your girlfriend's gifts?
My whole relationship went up in flames, and then from there sort of spiraled downward. So.
It was the beginning of the end of that relationship.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because I think that was really the catalyst to a lot of other stuff I put her through and a lot of other problems. That sort of went down in the months after that because I was never truly resolved, and I didn't realize how badly doing something like that, rejecting her gifts, would hurt her. And because she was so hurt, she reacted and treated me a little differently, and then I sort of cycled around.
So I thought to myself, because she told me, I don't know if you remember this, we were all sitting on the sofa, you and me and your girlfriend, and she said something like, oh, I've got so many gifts for JT, and my mom has all these gifts under the tree for him. We're so excited for him to open all these gifts. Do you remember her saying that? She said that, and in my head I'm thinking, uh-oh. Do you think I should have said something to her?
Yeah.
Do you wish I would have said something? Because
Yeah.
I didn't say anything because I figured it wasn't my business. Like, you were a big boy. You were going to have to deal with that part of a relationship.
Well, I I should have said something too. I should have definitely better communicated. And that's the other thing that I struggled with in that relationship was actually communicating and differentiating between what I think is enough communication and what she thinks is enough communication, because I'm fine with 2 words, but a whole lot of other people are not.
Yeah, it's always been true for us in general. That could be another topic for another video, is communication. Yeah. I think we've gone through most of these questions. Is there something else you wanted to talk about with this one, with holidays, before we go into the wrap-up?
Not particularly holidays, no.
So holidays, it's mostly about the gift giving, but then also like the family meal, the family gathering, navigating all of those relationships. Oh, I know. We were going to talk about what you did. So eventually, what did we do for holidays?
I just wasn't really around. I mean, once I started working, I'd always sort of schedule myself to work on holidays just so that I wasn't around, I wasn't causing trouble, so I could kind of be, like, we could each kind of go our own separate ways. I don't know exactly how that made you guys feel not to have a member of the family around.
I mean, we missed you, but I definitely enabled that, right? Like, I would have you were working at Burger King, and you would take extra shifts. You would take everybody's holiday shifts that nobody else wanted to do. And I was fine with that because it was easier having you work, know you were earning money and building up your leadership skills and whatever, which fed you, than to have you in our house in all that chaos.
Causing trouble.
Yeah, it was always going to be trouble. What kind of stuff would you do?
When I was younger, I would just like act out and just do stuff to get on people's nerves or push people's buttons, especially Dad. He had a short temper with me on holidays, so he was easy to get upset first. And then,
This is horrible.
and like once Dad was upset, he would probably either already be done with me or ignored me, and then I would just sort of pick on younger kids.
And then eventually you'd just go in your room and not come out.
I would check out.
Yeah, you just refuse to have a part in anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we like to wrap up these videos with a little thing about, you when you know better, you do better. And so some of you might be still in a place where you're trying to figure this out. We're past that point where we're trying to figure it out with him as a kid. Now we're trying to figure it out as an adult. We just had Thanksgiving, and you came, you cooked chicken for us. And you know what? I asked you to make the chicken for that reason, right?
What?
Because I knew when you have something to do where you can feel like you're giving back without having to relate or be accountable for it, that you'll do better. Yeah. If you just showed up here and you just had to hang out and play games and watch movies with all your siblings, that would have been harder, right?
Yeah, too much.
So you fried the chicken. This is how we do it now. So when we know better, we do better. So back then, what could we have done differently? What could you have done differently? What could I have done differently?
Well, a lot of it for me back then was I was really young and immature, so I honestly did not realize a whole lot was going on in my head. But I think what I could have done a lot better job at is just taking my space a little more appropriately, instead of acting out, instead of just stomping off to my room or causing a scene or getting on Dad's nerves. I feel like I could have just better said, I just need some space to myself right now, maybe take 15-20 minutes, and then come back and rejoin everybody else.
So maybe that's something, if we're talking to other parents who are, in that now, Christmas is coming up, they're going to have to figure this out for the next holiday, or, whatever, Hanukkah, there's a lot of holidays coming up. Would it have helped to have, like, some kind of, maybe you and I have a code word or something, where, like, you're feeling out of control, you can just tell me the code word and disappear. And then I know, oh, you're being responsible, you're not being irresponsible. Because I don't think as a little kid you could have, A, recognized when you were feeling out of control, and B, communicated that well without help.
Yeah, exactly. So if there's just sort of some mutual way to understand, so we can understand each other, to realize it's getting to be too much, so it doesn't come out in some kind of negative light or negative communication style.
Were there particular relationships that you just really dreaded dealing with? I mean, our holidays when you were little were not the easiest because Dad and I weren't getting along with our families, so it was hard for us to expect you to get along with them. But are there particular like types of relationships, like where the cousins are all relating and you can't fit in, or the aunts and uncles want in on it, or the siblings are expecting things, grandparents? Are there certain relationships that would set you off that you think had to do with your attachment issues?
Well, I feel like on Dad's side of the family, I'm a lot older than all the cousins, so like I never really fit in with them.
Right.
But I always have had a connection with lots of those aunts and uncles on that side, strangely enough.
Mm-hmm.
But not so much with grandparents. So that relationship is always difficult for me to navigate. But then on your side of the family, I don't feel like I fit in with anyone at any level. Not cousins, not aunts and uncles, and not grandparents either.
No, that's interesting, right? Because my family actually has more of a racial mix than Dad's family. So it's not about that.
No. I think part of it's a personality thing too.
Yeah.
Like my personality is so contrast to all of those. In so many different ways. So that's part of it. And then plus just if there's already a contrast, you gotta go above and beyond to sort of make that kind of connection. And that's hard for me to do.
Yeah. All right. So what could I have done differently? We talked about what you could have done differently. What could I have done differently? Or what did we do that worked? That made you feel safer in your skin?
Well, like you said, giving me stuff to do, like when you will let me go work on those holidays. But I think, like, especially when I was young, and really had no idea what I was doing or why I was doing it, just finding other ways to occupy me or give me space without banishing me or getting upset with me.
So basically, you would want to have zero expectations. So set the bar really low here in terms of the expectation, and then give you room to decide where and when you want to engage.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just expect zero engagement.
Positive reinforcement from there.
That's a good day, is if there's no engagement, because then we don't have negative engagement.
Yeah, exactly.
And then maybe that would encourage you or give you what you need to kind of engage a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And then rather than focusing on all like the negative behaviors, focus on maybe if there was one or two positive behaviors, then really highlight those opposed to the 10 negative things.
So, like what? Were there behaviors, things that you were trying to do and you felt like, I am trying and nobody's seeing it?
Yeah.
Like what?
Like church was always a big one, especially around holidays. Like I would always be acting out in church around holidays. And Dad would always get so frustrated with me for that. But there's definitely times like I felt like I would really go in and I would really try to behave myself and I would end up acting up.
So you wanted recognition right at the front end of that event, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good job, dude. We made it through the door and we sat down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Instead of waiting until 15 minutes into the church service when you're no longer in control. Yeah. So if you'd have had that little attaboy right there at the front end,
yeah,
you feel like
it would last a little bit longer.
Maybe a little bit longer. Yeah. Like, way to go. You made it through the first 5 minutes.
Exactly.
We're good. Oh, look, we're almost to the middle of the service. Mm-hmm. We're still doing okay. So just keep those like little reinforcements all the way through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's not like every time I look over and I see Dad glaring at me because like I know I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So they're looking for positives rather than negatives.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, all right. So some things we could take away from this is just lower the expectation. put it way down there in terms of expecting positive behavior. We can expect, the expectation is we expect no negative behavior. We'll just start there, right?
Yeah.
And then little reinforcements from the get-go, every little bit along the way. What if what kind of reinforcements do you think would help? Like what if I had, like a pocket full of note cards that just said, "You're doing great. You've made it through this part." Would that be too much to for me to hand something like that to you?
Yeah, that would be.
You want a little thumbs up? You want a little verbal recognition?
Even just like a little pat on the shoulder, or just acknowledging that I'm actually putting forth effort, instead of acknowledging that I'm so bad. I'm a horrible kid.
But then would you want to be acknowledged in front of other people? Like if there's a lot of relatives in the room, would you want them to hear or know that that was going on? Or would you just want it to be like kind of a quiet, subtle
definitely
communication?
Like really subtle. Like maybe, like I said, just like a little pat on the shoulder or a thumbs up. Or just even just checking in, just like, "How you doing, JT?" Something like that.
Yeah, that's complicated because you weren't always able to answer that question. You could answer that now. Are these strategies you want as an adult too?
No, I feel like now I'm very self-moderating. So like yesterday, like I didn't come down till half the day.
Yeah.
Because like I knew being there all day would be too much, so I was like stayed for a little lower portion of it.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was good with that.
Yeah.
And then you ended up coming back. You weren't going to come back today for the weekend, but you did. Was that because of how yesterday went?
That, I was bored.
All right. But the point is, even as a young adult, you still like to hear that you're doing okay, right? Mm-hmm. Or you still at least like to have the freedom to make your own decisions about how you're going to control those events.
Yeah, absolutely.
So don't give me any flack for sleeping in. It's what I need to do. Just be happy to see me when I show up. Mm-hmm. Give me something to do so I'm not getting into trouble. Picking on my siblings too much. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. I think that was I think that's a lot of good information. I want to do these thinking about if only we had known then what we know now. Because that way you know now what we know now. And our then is your now. All right. We are signing off of our first official edition of Radical Conversations. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Mary Kalbach.
I'm JT.
And if you want a lot more support and information about radical caregiving, please visit my website at marykalbach.com. Have a fantastic day.